I pitched stories for 3 decades, and I kept thinking my writing sucked. But it wasn't my writing. I'm winning awards on Broadway. I'm winning Tonys, Obies, Drama Critics. But I can't sell a script because they were Latin stories.
Man, what's happening, man? You got Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch,
Doug Hendrickson,
and Gavin Newsom, and you're listening to Politickin.
June on the beat. June on the beat.
So look, man, I'm gonna tell you like this. I had an interesting conversation with this very smart gentleman, and he told me not to be speaking on shit and just let shit happen organically. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I heard I'm being, what is that shit called? Endorsed. I'm being endorsed by the fucking governor of California to run for mayor of Oakland. So, you know, I don't know if how wise this wise man is who told me to let this shit happen organically.
I told you, I got a bunch of people called me that they're potential opponents of yours saying, is this real? What the hell's going on? This is BS. I love Marshawn, but what the hell? You can't be serious about this? Like, damn. But
I am though. You know what I mean? Like, so man, I be listening to these politicians and shit, man. And, you know, I ain't into all of that shit, but you know, when I be listening to them talk and they be saying all this shit, and I be wondering like, well, how much of that is going, you know what I mean, benefit people of color that look like me? Like, I don't never hear no plan of how that shit go. And then they say a lot of bullshit that don't really mean nothing, but it sound good because they can formulate a sentence with all these big ass words that don't nobody understand. And I really just be looking at them like, bitch ass. Yeah.
Well, Gavin, here's the deal. Remember we saw the guy in San Quentin? There's nobody better in Oakland to start with the youth of the city in all parts of Oakland.
You mean the guy from Oakland that we met in San Quentin?
Yes.
That's 25 to life. 2 different paths.
Correct. But my point is, for Marshawn, there's nobody I know on this planet that can step into Oakland and know the soil and know the blocks and know every corner store and every restaurant and every shop and every building and every high school than Marshawn.
Yeah.
And what's better to start with having someone who knows everything about the city to fix the city?
What about figuring out the tools to which you fix the city, understanding how government and governing works?
Well, that's part of your job as his campaign manager.
I got a motherfucker. Yeah, I'm saying I got a motherfucker who's sitting right across from me right now who got the blueprint to this shit. It's like, come on, bro, you got to quit selling me short, though.
I'm not selling you short. I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm just telling you what your opponents are going to say.
But I will tell you this.
They're going to come after you on this point. He has no governing experience. What the hell are we doing with an outsider, even if he's from Oakland and he's the insider as it relates to everything happening outside of City Hall, but not
You know how I answer that question?
Yes, sir.
Bitch, I think I got the governor on my side. What you talking about?
You know, it was our partner here's birthday the other day, and we had some good
man. Happy
49 years old. 49 years old.
We enjoyed a good little boozy lunch, Marshawn, and we had a few drinks of tequila for you. Since we know you're on set in New Mexico and you can't join us.
I put one up for you. I had him bring me a bottle specifically after I sent you the happy birthday. I went and had me a shot for you, big dog. You know what I mean? I really appreciate it. But I will tell you this much, you know what I mean, on a more serious note. And y'all know how I don't like to be too serious. But, you know, that whole thing with the mayor shit and all that, like, you know what I mean? I got excited as fuck. And I'm like, damn, you know what? You know, I might be able to make a change and do something, you know, really exciting for my city and shit. And I was thinking to myself, like, damn, you know what, man, if I could get, you know, the support and the love, you know what I mean, from Gavin and, you know, really, you know, sit down and really get into this shit. But then when I seen you come on set today and I seen that you had on some Panda Dunks, I was like, if that motherfucker was to come and meet me with them shoes on, before he can even open his mouth,
look at these shoes.
Before he even open his mouth, I would send that motherfucker right to goddamn Shoe Palace, Payless Shoe Store, Marshalls, Ross, and we would have to go and I give a fuck if you came in some water moccasins. But we gonna get you up out of them pandas, though, my boy.
But Sean, what about my Snoop? What about my Snoop Skechers with the dope smoke in the back?
You don't even have to tie those.
You know what? I'm gonna just say like this, my boy Fresh. You know I love the shit out of Snoop, but I'm gonna just say them are for health reasons. To the reason of why you keep stepping in them like that. You got some shit going on with your feet and your ankles and everything. So
he can't bend down. He can't help. He doesn't know how to use his fingers anymore.
You get a pass with those.
What the hell? By the way, I'm serious. I'm a little offended on behalf of Nike, my sponsor. What is wrong with these shoes? What is wrong with my pandas?
It's not nothing wrong, but the pandas though, that's like them are one and done. You throw them on one time and then you throw them motherfuckers away. Donate them. Salvation Army, Buffalo Exchange, Goodwill, one of them type of ones like that. So after this, you retire them motherfuckers, and then what we do is you let me know what size, and then we get you on some right feet so you could be official, my boy.
What are you wearing right now? You're talking a big game. I want to see your damn shoes, man.
Man, I got the Baltimore's on right now.
Oh, I don't even know what the hell that is.
You know
what is that?
You feel
What
me?
is that?
Oh,
You know, there's
nice.
some slight.
Oh, damn.
You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't know those.
There's a little yeah, that's
those
a
are
little slight
legit.
work.
I will admit, those are legit. Are you going to wear those once, twice? I'm seriously, no BS.
No, I actually work out in these.
All right.
But Marshawn, real talk, we are going to get our 10-point agenda together. We're going to have a meeting
10 points
tomorrow or Monday with me, you, and the governor here. We're going to get our 10-point agenda, talking points.
Childcare, healthcare, education, public safety, redevelopment. We're going to talk about
Parks and Recs.
Parks and Rec.
I mean, everything from just getting the hoops up with nets and refurbish
why don't we just start there? There should not be a basketball hoop that doesn't have a brand new damn net.
Well, there is an Oakland, right,
take
Marshawn?
that. If you don't have a net, that means you don't give a damn about the community. You got to keep. I mean, to me, it's a simple
thing
of something that's wrong. I go to school and I don't see basketball net. I'm like, this is not a well-managed school.
Marshawn, I got a special treat for you. Born in Bogota, Colombia, grew up in Queens, an unbelievable comedian, actor, producer, activist, icon from some incredible movies like Moulin Rouge and John Wick. One of your favorites. Let's welcome in the incredible John Leguizamo.
I got my Mets hat on.
Hey, he's happy about the Mets right now, isn't he, John?
Oh my God, who is not happy about the Mets?
Were you there the other night?
Nah, I'm in DC putting up a play.
You doing some theater?
So what? I'm doing theater. Yeah, I wrote my next theater pieces here at Arena in DC.
Damn, that's tight as fuck.
Yeah, man.
Damn right.
John is not just like writer, producer. I mean, theater, that's where real actors come from.
Look, hey, Gavin, don't be bro. You ain't got to be a hater all your life, Gavin. It's okay, man. Let it breathe right quick.
I like haters. They keep you fresh, keep you on your toes.
That's right. That's right. John, Marshawn thinks he's like a celebrity actor now. He's getting into this. He's filming right now in New Mexico, not California, which is all another conversation around.
No, have that conversation. Have that conversation right now.
That ain't right.
About runaway business.
I know.
Oh,
we're working on
yeah.
that. Stay tuned in January. I'll be doing some good things. Get you back from New York. Get you back to California.
Hey, big dog, can you just tell me how to pronounce your last name the right way?
No, don't try because you're going to get an aneurysm. It's going to hurt you.
That's all right. I'm here.
All right, if you're willing to take the risk.
Yeah, let me turn my speaker up right quick. All right, go ahead.
Leguizamo.
That's good.
That's perfect.
It's only once though. After 10 minutes, it goes away. It fades.
That's all right. I put it out there. I put the demo down, so I'm all good with that.
Well, John, one thing that hasn't faded is your career, which is next level. I mean, it is no BS. Like I thought, we all kind of feel like we know you. Anyone, obviously, that has been around for the last few decades, but it is a hell of a thing when you start adding up the number of movies, the incredible work you've done on Broadway, one-man shows, and all these Netflix series, the thing you just did at MSNBC last year. And now, of course, we'll talk about PBS and this extraordinary work you're doing now.
Thank you, Gavin. I'm a big fan as well.
Hell of a career, brother. Hell of a career.
Thank you. it wasn't easy getting here. You know, I was a problem child in Jackson Heights, Queens, during white flight, which wasn't easy either because every white group that was leaving beat me up. But then all my Latin people came up and they beat me up too. So I could never get it. It must be maybe I'm the problem. You know, I could be the missing link. You know, and it was tough. This industry was not easy, man. It was not easy to be a Latin man in this industry, and I'm sure it wasn't easy being a black man either. But you know, I persevered, and I went to places that did accept me, which was performance art and theater and comedy clubs where there was a little less systemic racism going on. Because when I started up, there was a thing called a casting breakdown every Monday, and it would tell you what roles were available. It was like Jim Crow a little bit because it would be white lead, white romantic guy, white doctor, white lawyer, Latin drug dealer. And even if you asked your agent, even if you had a big agent and you asked, can you please let them, I want to do my monologue for them. Well, they wouldn't see you. They wouldn't see you because they said white guy. So, you know, and it was like that. So, you know, I knew the system was rigged against me. So I was going to have to try to find my opportunities wherever I could find them.
But John, you've been calling out. I mean, for as much as changed, not a lot has changed, right? Or do you feel like it's beginning to change? I mean, you haven't been shy calling this out, the lack of progress as it relates to representation, as it relates to opportunities. I mean, it's you know, for as much progress as we've seen, I think people are surprised to see how few lead roles, particularly for Latin and Latinos. Yeah,
I mean, Gavin, that's a great question because things are better, but they're not better enough. Because Latin people are 20% of the population, but with less than 5% of the leading roles, with 30% of the U.S. box office.
Boom.
Sometimes even more on the big hits. We're almost 40% sometimes. That's a huge amount of money that we're giving the industry and only getting 5% of the leads, 1% of the stories being told, less than 0.0 something of the executives. That's not parity. That's not equity. That's not fair. And it's not like we Latin people just got here. This has been going on forever, man. When the founding fathers of Hollywood got to L.A. in the early 1900s, it had just been Mexico 70 years prior. They walked into an almost Latin city, almost completely Latin city. Of course, it was kind of a apartheid because Latin people and black people were segregated. We were redlined. We were being experimented on. Latin women were being sterilized against their will and against their knowledge. Lynchings against Latin and black people. You know, Latin people were being shot, burned alive. I mean, there was a lot of terrible things going on when the founding fathers came, but they didn't even think of like, oh, let's include the culture that's right here. They didn't, and it didn't. You know, it's been going on for the since the beginnings of silent film.
And John, I'm curious. I mean, in your own exploration of all of this, and as you've dove much deeper with so many of these projects in the last few years, were you even surprised at how bad that history was to uncover it? I mean, you talk about lynchings. We don't typically connect that to the Latino community. Right. You think about the African-American community, sterilizations, as you say, and the redlining, which is so sort of dominant in our at least culture that it's predominantly an African-American issue. Were you surprised to the depths of that kind of discrimination?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously black people have had it much worse than Latin people. You know, it's not a competition, and I'm not trying to make it that.
Amen.
Over 9,000 black people were lynched or more. For us, it was 6,000 Latin people. So, you know, it's lesser numbers, but, you know, the second most brutalized by the police are Latinos. The second largest ethnic group in jails are Latinos. You know, the lowest paid worker in America is a Latin woman. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, finding out these facts of the horrors that happen to Latin people, because you wonder, we've been here forever. It's not that we just got here. This myth that we just got here, no, we keep coming, but we've been here forever. And why aren't we at a higher place? Why aren't we at top of the pyramid somehow? Well, because of all these things. You know, our land wealth was taken from us. Our political power was taken from us. and we were segregated. The first case fought in America against segregation was a Latin family, the Maestas family in Denver, Colorado in 1911. The first young boy lynched in America was a Latino boy in 1914, a 14-year-old Antonio Gomez for disrespecting a white man in Texas. The first woman lynched in America was a Latina, Josefa Segovia, during the gold rush in California because a white miner raped her and she shot him, but because she wouldn't show remorse, they lynched her. So yeah, we Latin people have experienced a lot of oppression, and that's partly why also it's not in history textbooks, because you put that in history textbooks, then you got to give us political power. You got to respect us. You got to give us something back for our contributions in making of America.
Marshawn, I imagine a lot of that resonates with you, huh?
Yeah, it do, considering our history. And I mean, and I think, especially in California, I mean, I'm not sure how it is all through California, but I know in Northern California, like, I fuck with my amigos. Like, I got a lot of fucking primos that I just, I resonate with, that I fuck with, like. So I mean, and then they grow up in the same neighborhoods with us. It's like where I lived at on 55th and Foothill, it was what they called it the Green Apartments, which was where the blacks was at, and then right next door it was the Mexican Apartments. And I mean, the same struggles that we was dealing with, they was dealing with it as well. And I mean, just that area alone, the shit was tough, but it was also of hard workers and individuals who, held family to a standard where, and we started to see, like, when they called the fucking police, they would come to both apartment buildings. Mm-hmm. And that shit was, it was something that I witnessed growing up, and I seen. But, when you start speaking to the history of Latin culture, like, they don't teach that in schools, and they don't tell us too much about that. And now you start to see, like, they even starting to erase, like, the black history of all of that shit in schools.
Critical race theory and everything.
It's crazy to me because we sitting here with the governor, and it's like, bro, you act like you don't know that shit going on. Like, who the fuck? I know them shits come across your desk when you see that shit. I think you got to think in your mind, like, oh shit, John and Marshawn wouldn't approve of this shit. We can't let this happen. We got to figure some shit out.
I mean, as John was just saying, it's CRT, ESG, it's DEI, anything with 3 damn letters, it seems to be these guys.
Yeah, man, the alphabet boys, man.
No, it's a real thing. You're right. They're trying to rewrite history, censor historical facts. John's well aware in Florida a couple years ago, they actually had textbooks that were changed as it relates to the civil rights movement with Rosa Parks, and they took out her race as if her race wasn't relevant in the context of the civil rights movement. But John's going a deeper point, which is, it's one thing to censor those historical facts or to rewrite history, but a lot of the Latino history was never even written. There's not even a lot to erase. And I imagine a big part of what you're trying to do with American Historia and others is really start to tell that story so that we can get our history straight.
Johns Hopkins University in Unidos, U.S., did a study and found that 87% of Latino contributions into the making of the U.S. are not in history textbooks. And the 13% that is gets less than 5 sentences. So yeah, what I was trying to do with my show, The Untold History of Latinos on PBS, was to correct that, to stop the erasure, the crossing out, the deletion of our contributions. Because, it's systemic. And when we Latin people don't know what we've contributed, we have less power. When other people don't know our contributions, they have less respect for us. And then things can happen, like being demonized, like Trump demonizes us and says he's going to deport 10 million or more Latinos. That's a horror thing for me. I mean, because how are you going to police that? You're going to profile all Latin people and even American citizens, which has happened in American history. It's not the first time. The Repatriation Act in the 1930s deported 2 million people. More than half were American citizens, and they sent them to Mexico. And these people had never grown up there or been there, didn't even speak Spanish, but they were all Latino. They were profiled. And then it happening in the Wetback Act in the 1950s to the 70s, 1 million Latinos were deported, and half of those were American citizens. So I'm afraid the same thing's going to happen if Trump gets elected. If I make
So
it
hold
political.
on, they really had an act called the Wetback Act.
Yeah, can you believe that shit? They had the audacity to call it something. It could have been the Greaser Act. It could have been the Spick Act. I mean, it was horrible.
What year was that, John? The Wetback Act? I can't even believe that.
1950s government.
1950s. Okay.
Yeah.
So, John, let me ask you a question. Growing up in Queens, you were a fighter. It's been known you had to go fight. You had to scrap. Were you always the guy to your friend group that had the voice you do now? Did you realize back then you were the guy that obviously threw the fist, which I appreciate, but did you also have the voice to get your crew together to try to fight against what you dealt with?
No, let me make just a little correction. I was in a lot of fights, but I was the one getting beat up. I won a few of them, but I didn't win a lot of them. I got beat up a lot.
Well, by the way, John, Gavin did too. He got bullied. He had to move so Gavin got beat up too. Yeah. Marshawn might have been doing the fighting.
Yeah, Marshawn, he doesn't understand what the hell we're talking about.
John, they shared some I think junior high stories when they was victims of bullying, and they didn't fight back.
No, I fought back.
I did fight back.
That's why I got beat up, was because I fought back and I never backed down. I don't know. I guess I was looking for not shutting up or saying sorry or whatever. I never backed down. But yeah, it made me strong. If I hadn't grown up the way I grew up in Jackson Heights, Queens, which was all white flight, but all Latino populations were there and black people, and we all grew up together in the same kind of problems. It made me strong, and I had community. Black and Latinos, I felt I had joy, I had laughter, I had problems as well. But, it shaped me. And Hollywood can't hurt me. It cannot begin to hurt me. You know what I mean? So that's why Hollywood, to me, has always been Hollywood. But I've seen the problems in Hollywood. I've been in this business for 4 decades, and I saw what was going on. It wasn't okay. I pitched stories for 3 decades, and I kept thinking my writing sucked, but it wasn't my writing. I'm winning awards on Broadway. I'm winning Tonys, Obies, Drama Critics, but I can't sell a script because they were Latin stories. And no matter if I wrote like William Goldman, if I wrote like Tony Kushner, they were not going to greenlight a Latin project. You know what I mean? They were just never going to. They never saw the value of Latin content. But now, luckily, with data and this digital revolution that we're in, it's the best time to be a Latin person, because now we got metrics. And when we have metrics, we Latin people win, because you can't deny us. That's true. Facts like in baseball, you see all these Latin folks playing because you can't deny stats. In music, we kill because you can't deny sales. But in showbiz and in corporations and in tech industry, they can do that for jobs. They can do that because they can say it's all opinion based. It's all bias based. It's not based on fact.
Was there a moment where you really found your voice? Was it, was it years ago, or was there sometime a lot of shame and regret that you didn't find that voice earlier?
Well, I don't have shame and regret because I didn't know what was going on. I just assumed that if you were a Latin man or a Latin person in America, you weren't going to get very far. You just weren't. When I was in NYU and I was a student paying the same tuition as Andrew McCarthy and D.B. Sweeney, they were going to 5 auditions a day. I was going to one every 5 months for a drug dealer or a murderer or a janitor. I knew. And I was an idealistic young man. I believed in meritocracy. I believed talent would win the day, but it wasn't so. No matter how talented I was, I could have been as good looking as Brad Pitt. I could have been as talented as Brando. I was not going to get a job because I was a Latin man. And that became very apparent. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to give up, but I know a lot of people gave up. I saw a lot of dreams that got wasted and thrown away, and people's lives that derailed because they believed in the American dream that wasn't for them.
So, John, one of my favorite movies of all time, Carlito's Way. So you kind of went from a stand-up comedy, right? And you got that. How'd you get the role in Carlito's Way from doing stand-up comics?
Well, my manager at the time, who's a horrible human being.
Hey, Marshawn, never call me as your main agent at home.
No, he was a horrible crook and a horrible person, but he meant well. And he saw me, and they saw me do my comedy stuff, and then went on HBO, and they offered me the role, and I turned it down a lot because I was sick of playing drug dealers, and I didn't want to denigrate my people. But then when they offered it to Benicio, I took it.
Interesting.
So hold on. So because the Pest. The Pest. So was that before this, or was that after?
That was after. That was after. That was 97, and Carlito's Way was 93.
Man, I'm a fan. A girl of mine, she turned me on to the Pest, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this shit is like, this motherfucker is crazy.
Yeah,
but then I also, like, from the Pest to fucking to the Menu, just like the range that you have. And when you speak about, the talent, and it's like there's no denying that, you're a talented motherfucker. But from me, like, watching that and then seeing the Menu, I'm like, God damn. But then I remember what was that? I think Spawn. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Spawn, right?
Yeah.
The clown.
Yeah, so I'm like, damn, I don't know if you would call it like, I know it's a superhero movie, but like, to see you in that kind of role, like, there's no denying your talent.
Well, thank you.
Fucking special you are, like. But I mean, once I watched The Pest, then I'm like, oh yeah, he got me hook, line, and sink. Like, where else can I go and watch this motherfucker? What else can I see? See him doing this thing, like. That shit turned me up, and I'm like, this is some good shit.
Yeah, that was some crazy shit I did in that. I mean, I was mad caffeinated because I don't do drugs anymore, or So it was all just caffeine, soda, Coke, sugar. I had to keep my energy level so high to keep that thing go. Basically, The Pest is the big game, where a great white hunter is looking for a trophy animal, but we made it, this great white hunter is looking for a Puerto Rican to put on his mantle.
Yeah. Oof.
No, I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I agree, Marshawn.
Hey, John, you started out and was comedy the goal, and then all of this was sort of an evolution from the comedy, or what? When you were a kid, I mean, what was the pinnacle of success for you? I mean, did you see yourself as a comedian, as an actor, as a director? I mean, you're fill in the blank right now in every single way. You've done it, from producing and the like. But was comedy the bedrock? Yeah,
comedy was what got me through my painful childhood. I come from a lot of child abuse and whatnot, just violence. Comedy helped me, watching Richard Pryor, watching Abbott and Costello, Martin and Lewis. I ate up all the comedy, and I would go, like, I was a ghetto nerd. So I would go to the library, the Museum of Television and Radio, and watch Flip Wilson, watch the old Ernie Kovacs, and I studied them all, man. And to me, that was, when I got Freak on Broadway, that was it, man. That to me was the pinnacle of my life in so many ways, because I felt like I helped change comedy in America, because the comedy at that time was kind of light and kind of glib and kind of shiny, and I brought a lot of pain and sexuality, and I introduced the jizz comedy. That something about Mary, you saw that in American Pie and all that, but I was doing all that on stage, putting my imaginary dick in sandwiches, playing with spooge all over the place. So there was a lot of stuff I was doing in this crazy show, but there was, everybody was coming to the show, Michael Mayer, Robin Williams, rest in peace. You name it. Everybody was at that theater. It was incredible on Broadway. And I was Tony nominated for writer and performer. I lost.
So you kind of went and carved your own lane.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Had to.
I respect that.
Were the agents back then, I know you called your manager a horrible manager, were the agents back then, did a lot of them pigeonhole, like, did you guys have like a subset of managers that dealt with Latinos and this and that, or did you have a lot of people to pick from?
I think I had a good a group to pick from. I did. I mean, I got a great manager now, but the one I had back then was a Svengali, like a trickster. He did a lot of underhanded stuff, like taking 50% of my HBO salary for my one-man shows and telling me that, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have never got it. And so, like, I was young and stupid, so I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess that's a trade-off, 50%.
Doug, my agent, and I was fucking head over heels. Like, why you get 3%, bro? Like, what you really doing? Like, I ain't ever even seen you throw a damn ball, let alone catch one. Like, what the fuck? Why you getting so much? Why you getting so much, dog? Hey, we gonna have to go and talk about this. And then he sicked the wolf on me, his wife, and she had to break some shit down for me. And I'm like, I like you a lot. I got a lot of love and respect for you, but 3%, god damn, and to hear that you was getting hit for 50, like, fuck.
The entertainment business is different, man. They pay way too much, right, John?
Yeah, most of us, all the big timers, you only get about a quarter of your salary because you got 10% agent, 10% manager, 5% lawyer, 5% for a business manager, and everybody else on payroll. So in taxes, I'm at a 50% tax bracket. So in New York, so yeah, I get about 25% of everything I make.
Well, we like to blame a lot of shit on Gav, so you could put that on his
ass.
Hochul
now too. Yeah, not just New York and California. We share a little bit of that in common on that, at least for you two that are on screen. Well, all three of you. Hold on. Yes. I'm the public servant on this podcast.
I'm kind of like a public servant.
Really? Sorry, John. I don't buy that.
No, I get paid.
You're doing all right. By the way, just, what was the, and I've just watched a lot of the episodes of the MSNBC you did. I guess it was a year ago. Feels like
right
yesterday. And now with PBS, you wake up and say, you know what, I got to take this to the next level and just start educate people at a broader, more broadly? Or is it because the politics of the moment that has sort of shaped your desire to do these projects? Or was this sort of, again, a natural part of your journey that for decades you've been expressing an understanding or a desire for other people to understand the history of Latin culture?
Yeah, Gavin, I think it's a confluence of both things. My getting to be 60 years old, you get to a point in your life where you go, what am I doing in my life? What's the point of my life? And I feel like the point of my life is to make this place a better place than when I came into it. And also, all the things that happened in Black Lives Matter and COVID and all that, it just like it took me years to get to PBS, 5 years or a bit more than that to get it to this place. It wasn't easy, but I felt when I read these facts, it just blows my mind and I felt like, oh my God, I can't be the only person who knows these facts. The world needs to know that we Latin people are the only ethnic group that's fought in every single war America's ever had. 10,000 unknown Latino patriots fought in the American Revolution. We helped fund the American Revolution. $2 million were given to George Washington from Cuba, Mexico, and Spain. So we Latin people are sons and daughters of the American Revolution. 20,000 of us fought in the Civil War. 120,000 of us fought in World War I. 500,000 Latinos fought in World War II. That's a huge sacrifice to the making of this country. We have 60 Medal of Honor honorees. That's the most of any ethnic group. But do we get credit for that? Do you see us in movies? It's crazy how erased our contributions are.
It is amazing. Hey, John, your Emmy speech a couple weeks ago was incredible. In Hollywood, do you feel that it seems like every Oscars or Emmys or award show, people stand up and say something, but do you see the other 364 days a year, people fighting and doing what you're doing, or just giving their speech? Not you, but other people giving their speech and saying what they have to say. Are people living it daily to help out with what you're doing now and other causes for other people?
Oh,
That sounds like a no.
Sounds like a no.
That just sounds like a no.
And John, how do we make that change? We got Marshawn as an actor now. How do we make that change?
Well, it's hard. I mean, when you start speaking up, it's not consequence free. When I started getting political, I lost half my followers, and it got so much hate. People go back to Mexico if you don't like our country. I go, I'd gladly go back to Mexico because I'm not from Mexico and I love to visit. But they say all kinds of crazy things. They start telling you suck as a comedian, you're boring now. I mean, whenever you start doing that, the hate, and you lose the followers. So there is a consequence. So I understand why other people are reserved. It makes, they're there to entertain, and but I feel like I'm older, I'm an elder. I see what's going on. I saw what was going on. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. I know what the stats are. I know what the reality is, and I'm not going to shut up till I have parity for my people. Till 20% of those roles are Latino, when 20% of those executives, when 20% of the stories. I don't want 30%, which is what we over-index at the box office. We're 20% of the population. I just want 20% across the board, and I don't want it just in Hollywood. I want it in tech. I want it in banking. I want it in corporations. I talk to a lot of executives across America. And Latin people tell me, I'm good enough to train somebody who then gets promoted over me, but I'm not good enough to be promoted. I hear that all over the place.
John, when did you start getting political? When you started getting that negative feedback, when you really started realizing this is going to come at a price?
I was always socially conscious, but I wasn't politically activated until I think it was Al Gore when I started feeling like, oh my God, I got to start. When he lost and his presidency was taken from him, I was like, I can't be quiet. Democracy is not a spectator sport. You got to participate, and you got to put out tons of effort to keep it a democracy.
Amen. Justice Brandeis, I love the way he described, said the most important office in a democracy is the office of citizen. This notion of active, not inert citizenship and active participation, which I just love that. It's not just about election days. It's what happens after and what happens before. It's everything in between. Right now though, man, with an election, I don't want to get hyper political, but man, it's
there you go.
I get it, but we're talking about but Marshawn, you're talking about history repeating itself, man. Back in Hoover days, about everybody being kicked out. You got the Wetback Act. You've got and now here we are. We thought we made all this damn progress in this country. California, Marshawn, we're almost 40% Latino. California, It's a majority minority state, the most diverse state in the world's most diverse democracy. It's a deep point of pride, and it's a principle which we're founded on. Which allows us to thrive and be the fifth largest damn economy in the world. Right. Latinos in this country, by the way, are about the fifth largest economy in the world, just from a GDP, over 3.6 plus trillion damn dollars
with a capital
T.
With a capital
John.
T, huh?
But right now, there's another guy with a capital T that's scaring the hell out of everybody in this election. And we're talking about mass deportations. We're talking about mixed status families that are scared to death. We're talking about poisoning the blood of this country and vermins. The language, man. I mean, you're kind of a mini historian now with all these documentaries you've been doing and all the work. I mean, this rhetoric is about as bad as it's ever been.
Right, and hate crimes against Latinos are up. Big surprise. When he says stuff like that, I mean, you see veterans getting beat up in bars and stuff, Latino vets, because they tell you don't belong in this country. And then, the vet is going, but I fought for you. And then pow, pow, he brings so much violence into our country, so much hate that's unnecessary. I mean, decency is what we all want. Peace is what we want. Togetherness is what most people want. But they're sold because he's a big liar. He's such a liar that people believe what he says. He says he's going to bring jobs back and production back. I mean, he's making all this stuff up. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to be fact checked because he's making it all up. It's all bullshit. But people buy it. People believe it. People believe the bullshit.
Which is, begs the question, we talk about, there's books now being written about it, and let's hope history is not going to be written about this in a few weeks, but talking about the fact that Trump and Trumpism is somehow, he's making inroads in the Latino community. Is it because you just think just the rank lies, or do you think a combination of that and just economic issues, which are bread and butter issues always?
I think it's a combo. For some reason, this inflation of the prices of goods, food, and gas and housing, it affects Latin people because we're kind of at the bottom of the economic food chain. So they're very affected by it. And Latinos care about, feeding their families, and Latin women care about that. So who do they blame? The person who's in office, and Trump, with all his magical speak, his magical thinking speak of how he's going to fix everything and cut taxes. Everybody believes that he's going to bring production back and bring jobs and stop China this. And, they buy it. They believe it. So it's kind of tough, man. I don't think Latin people are really flipping totally Republican, but he gets them. Obviously we're not a monolith, and there's a lot of Christian Latinos, evangelical Latinos, conservative. We have them, But from his rhetoric, you would think everybody would be just against him, but they're not. The black community is also somehow moving up towards him too.
Yeah, they splitting. I think they got turned on from all those the EDD, the PPP, and all of that shit. They like, oh yeah, Trump gonna give us some money.
Yep.
We need to get Trump back in office so he could give us some money.
When he started putting his name on those checks, people thought it was from him.
And they believe that. I've heard Latin people say, oh, but when he gets to be in office, we're going to get more of those checks that he signed. They really believe that. His scams sometimes they do work. They don't always work, but sometimes.
Hey, John, you buy one of those $100,000 watches? You got one of those?
I'm saving up for the Bible.
You're saving up for the Bible.
For the Trump Bible and the Trump sneakers.
Trump watches. Oh, so somebody just sent me a picture of that. He got a watch and some shoes or something.
$100K for the watch, brother.
What the fuck is that about?
I've got my pandas on right now, but if I come in with some Trumps,
then I might Sparta kick your ass right in the chest.
Hey, John, I was down in Mexico for the swearing in of the first woman. And, the Western Hemisphere, we haven't had North America. We haven't had a woman sworn in. And I was with a good friend of yours, Rosario Dawson, who was down. She was down there filming a couple of days. But you were one of the early founders of Voto Latino, right? Were you there in the beginning?
I was helping. I was always an ally to Rosario and Maria Teresa Kumar for what they're doing, because they're brilliant, man. They really do the real work, and very little of the money goes to them. It all goes right into groundwork, grassroots organizing. It's amazing. It's amazing what they do. And this woman's incredible, man. This woman president, she's I just find her so exciting, so progressive, lifting Mexico into the future. Mexico is doing incredible economically. And then, she called out, it was amazing. She asked Spain to apologize for the destruction of the Aztecs, the Incas, and the Mayas. It was amazing. And you know what? I think it was a minister of culture. I can't remember exactly the dude who wrote the letter and said, "You are an illiterate. We will never apologize for those horrific tribes." Now they owe us 2 apologies, one for that fucking letter and then one for the conquest.
And by the way, and the conquest, going back just, the PBS series, which, by the way, you have a bunch of great, people like Rosario doing some of the narrative work, Edward James Olmos, some others, next level. You go back to that. You go back, you're walking down tunnels, you're finding all this gold and all this poisonous, mercury or something. This was a hell of you said 5 years. I get why it may have taken you 5 years. It was a hell of a journey you've been on with this thing.
Oh, yeah. It's incredible, man. I went to, you're talking about Teotihuacan.
Yeah, it's easy to pronounce, man. Yeah. Easier than your last name, brother.
I had to practice. It don't come that easy. We're talking about this tunnel was the first one. It's just been discovered. It's over 2,000 years old. and they found, turquoise from Arizona. They found jade from Central America. So we were doing trade all up and down South America and the Americas. These were incredible empires, man. They were bigger than European empires. 33 million Incas, 30 million Aztecs, 20 million Mayas. They had running toilets with water flushing toilets before any country in Europe. Right. We invented rubber, which in galvanization, Goodyear took credit for something he ain't do. And the Incas had binary code. That's how they kept their senses before computers. They had suspension bridges. They had anesthesia. They had brain surgery that was more successful than anything until the Civil War.
I mean, who knew? Marshawn, you know all that stuff, man?
Hell no. Look, I'm sitting over here like I'm watching the Discovery Channel right now. This motherfucker dropping so much motherfucking game. Like, God damn, this is opportunity. Shit, just give him a mic and let him go. Cause shit, I feel like I'm gonna be at least 5-10% smarter after this after this show. So shit, keep going, big dog. It's any more facts you want to spit out. I'm here for it, man. Shit, keep educating me. So now I'm not only just a fan of your work, not only I'm a fan of your work, but
what I appreciate about you, John, and it seems like the guests we get on the show are very similar to you and Marshawn, because you've always led, you've gotten it. Marshawn's been the same way. You're vocal, you stand. And again, we always say life is short, we're on borrowed time. And if you don't speak your voice, John, then what are we doing? Gavin and I just hit a birthday. We're not as old as you yet, but we almost there. And so,
oh, thanks a lot for that shout out.
Yeah,
there you go.
Hold on,
the two young guns here on the couch, brother.
Yeah, I'm 64.
You couldn't look at him.
But anyways, the point, John, is we're on borrowed time. So I love the way you're living. And let me ask you a question. What's next for you? I mean, the PBS stuff is so next level. Are you back into acting? Are you on Broadway now? But I mean, what's the next steps for you the next few years?
I got an amazing movie coming out in April called Bob Trevino Likes It. We won the South by Southwest Audience Prize and Jury Prize. It is such a beautiful, feel-good, healing film. Grown men crying. Oh my God! We've at every screening.
Little different than John Wick, John.
Yeah, John Wick makes you cry in a different way.
Yeah.
This one's a healing movie. There's no beating up. There's no hitting. And then my play is the biggest thing I've got right now. I wrote this hoping this will be an American classic based on a true crime that happened in Long Island in the 90s.
Right. And you're literally in the middle of that right now, right?
Yes, sir. We go up October 18th is my first performance.
And what is, I mean, is there any having made it in your life and career, or are you just going to be, you're going to run this thing through the tape? No 90-yard dash here, huh? No,
man. I mean, the lovely thing about acting is that you can go on till they pull they get the hook and they pull you up. People have died on stage, I mean, I don't want to die on stage, but yeah.
And what about the producing and the directing? I mean, does that have the feedback loop that being on there, one man show, and just being out there all just exposed? How do those things compare?
Oh, wow. It's so different. I mean, being on stage by yourself is so powerful to have a whole entire house of about 1,500 people every night for 6 months. It's quiet. You can hear a pin drop, and they laugh. And especially for Latin people, it becomes like church because they're crying, laughing, screaming, talking back. Think they're home watching TV. It's a beautiful experience. Film is different, obviously. Film is about hitting some acting highs. It's an acting high. You're just trying to hit these beats. But a stage and live performance is like church.
Because Doug won't let that shit die down at all. But I have been, getting into my acting bag a little bit. Is there anything that you would tell me just as far as because my biggest thing is like when I get them scripts and then I see all them lines and shit, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, is there any advice you could give to me just like grassroots? To keep me going and keep my mind right.
Yeah, man. You can make it I mean, nobody starts out great in acting, man. Everybody works their ass off to get to this place. Brando worked his ass off, studied with the best teachers. So did James Dean. So did Mark Ruffalo. So did Trump. Everybody studied. All the greats studied. De Niro, Pacino. They studied hard. So nobody's born naturally an actor. You become one. So I would say get a great coach. I would say read out loud as much as you can. Like get a script that you love from a movie. And learn those monologues and practice it all the time until it becomes second nature, until you get used to saying lines that you haven't thought, because my daughter wants to be an actress and I tell her that. Read out loud as much as you can. Get your favorite movie monologues and work on them, memorize them, because then you learn how to turn dialogue that's not yours into yours.
So I think I'm going to start with the Pest.
do it. I like to see it. Film it. I want to see it.
I mean, I really have been having fun doing it.
Oh,
it's
good.
I'm so competitive. So, when I get to a point where it's like, all right, and it's challenging, it turned me up. Like, I got to get on this shit. I got to figure this shit out. Like, you know what I mean? And then, just the way that I've been going about it, like, I'll just read it, just drill it.
Yep,
and then,
drill. Dude, that's it, brother. I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, I'm older, so I have to drill a little harder than I used to. I used to have a photographic memory, but it's kind of clouded now. It's got a lens cap on it. So, yeah, drilling, baby. There's nothing better than drilling, doing your lines while you're running on a treadmill or doing something else. Drilling is the only way. And, dude, you got a great personality. So, I mean, you're a natural for film that way.
All right, well, shit, man, I appreciate it because, damn, sometimes that shit get a little hard. Then I had to go back into my mindset of like, damn, when shit got hard for me on the field or when I was at practice or when I was working out, getting ready to go to training camp, mini camp or OTAs or any of that, knowing that I got to come in, ready to perform. Like, so when I get out there on set, it's like, okay, I got them same kind of nerves that I had.
Oh, yeah.
When it get time for game time.
But it's good. Like, it's good kind of nerves. It makes you so alert, man.
Yeah, then I'm just, focusing on shit that I don't even know. And then it's been to a point where it's like I can, the actors that I'm working with, like, I could say their lines and then I'm right into my shit. So, it's been an interesting transition for me, but I have been enjoying it. But just to get some, some words of knowledge from you, especially considering now, just not looking at you as an actor and seeing you as a historian with all these fucking numbers and all these facts, like it make me believe like, oh, okay, well, shit. Growing up, said he was a fighter, standing on business and the shit that you represent. And I'm like, damn, you know what? I'm walking that path. And, something that, I like to say is nothing new under the old moon. And why not look at the individuals who laid down the foundation, before you and, walk that path. Like, there ain't going to be nothing new that I'm out here doing. There's been plenty of athletes that done transition from, playing their sport and then getting into the industry. So, man, I appreciate that. And then, just from the standpoint of, I've seen this entertainment space eat up a lot of people.
Oh, hell yeah.
Eat them up like fuck. Like, I've been somebody that pride myself on sticking to my guns and represent who I am at all times, no matter what room I walk in. I'm still going to be the same that I've always been. Right. So keeping that type of mindset, like, and wanting to grow in it, do you see any problem with that?
I think you're so right. Trying to stay to your core friends and keeping who you really are, because the business, nobody prepares you for showbiz. The ups and downs are so crazy. Nothing prepares you for that, because you go way up, but then you got to come back down, and those ups and downs mess a lot of people up, and nobody tells you that you got to be prepared for. Like hyper people, everybody loving you and then everybody hating you, right. And everything's in public and it's rough.
Well, John, it's fascinating because obviously in sports, you have the the transition from college to the pros in football, at least, and and then your career kind of plateaus a little bit. Then you get older, and it's an 8 to 12 year career for the top players,
right?
And you kind of know the transition. But in entertainment, like to yourself, I mean, you don't know which ways to go. You could be on top of the world one day, next you know you don't get calls, you don't jobs, you don't. I mean, you're right. It would eat a lot of people up. That'd be another story for you to tell at some point, because no one talks about the underbelly of the people that get eaten alive. Correct?
Yeah. Because I mean, if you start reading your reviews and you start believing that, then you got to believe the good. Then you're going to have to believe the bad, because nobody gets consistently good reviews. So when you get a bad review, then you got to believe it. Then you got to start believing that you suck. And then how do you soothe yourself? You find the wrong friends, you find the wrong people, the alcohol, the drugs start coming in, you try to feel better, you self-medicate, and then you got this, roller coaster life that's not healthy.
Well, I had a situation like that, I think like year 3 when I was in Buffalo before I had got traded to Seattle, and it was more like, oh, fuck him. We always knew he was a thug. We knew he wasn't shit. Oh, he ain't gonna make it, this, that, and the third. And like, oh, fuck him. He's washed up. Oh, he can't run the ball no more, this, that, and all that type of shit. And then as soon as I got up out of that environment and I got traded to Seattle, and then I went ahead and created an earthquake. You feel what I'm talking about? So along that time, like I remember that vividly. And I just, because I'm not somebody who big after like the games, like to go watch ESPN, look at my stats, this, that, and the third. I was more a team situation, like shit. If we win, regardless of whether I had 100 yards or I had 10 yards, if we won, shit, I'm partying like it's 1999. And then if we lost, I'm in the lab trying to figure out, okay, what was it that I didn't do that I could do better, or I did this pretty good, but how can I do this even better to the point where, because I don't really like losing, but I mean, I think it was something that my mom taught me after my first game when I was playing Pop Warner football. We lost the game and I was mad as hell. I'm crying and shit. And my mom was like, why the fuck you crying? Like, boy, you get to go out here and do this again next week. And I'm like, oh, we got another game? She's like, yeah, you got about 10 more games. Like, why is you like, you get to, you know what I mean? You get to go redeem yourself. And the thing was, I didn't have a bad game, but it was just the fact that we lost. And ever since then, I kind of took the bad with the good and the good with the bad. And I always just harped on that mindset with how I grew. And no matter what, if it was a win or a loss, I always looked at it like, okay, what could I have done better? I mean, how could I have helped the team in a better way? You know what I mean? Oh, we got a sack. What could I have done to help this offensive lineman, stay on that block to where the quarterback didn't get hit? Or, just little specific details that, mainly don't mean nothing to a lot of people, but it's some shit that goes a long way. And it could be the deciding factor on if you win or if you lose. But, within this space, because I guess what it feel like to me is like when you on set and individuals know me, and it's more so like they look at me like, oh shit, that's Marshawn Lynch, the football player. Like they got this kind of like, oh, he's beast mode and this and that and the third. So if it's something that I'm doing on set and if it don't read right, like I come from a background of you're not doing your job or what you're supposed to do, somebody come and tell you, hey, what the fuck is you doing? Like, no, you're supposed to hit the hole. Like you doing all that dancing in the back, hit the hole and get downfield right now. But on set, it's like, oh no, that was good. Let's just try it again. And it's really no direction.
Marshawn, interesting. I never asked you this. Are you, because of you and your personality and all that, are anybody on the set, are anybody scared to tell you the truth?
I'd be afraid to tell him that.
No,
I'd be
because
afraid,
it ain't like that.
You don't want to hurt people's feelings either, man. You don't want to. Plus, also negative feedback for acting sometimes shuts people down even more. So you have to, you have to nurture people into their talent. You have to, and with acting, we all make mistakes. So you need more takes. That's why we have takes, because people make mistakes.
But I'm more the guy that's like, all right, if I'm doing something wrong, tell me I'm doing it wrong so that way I can not do that shit no more, rather than you just say, oh, okay, we're going to do another take. And if you don't tell me I'm doing nothing wrong, then I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But if it comes to the fact where it's not, and I'm the reason why we doing the takeover, it's like, all right, well, who the fuck who not giving what they supposed to give, and then all of a sudden you find out as you was like, oh shit, well, why the fuck you just didn't tell me I was doing the wrong shit? So then I could have did something different.
Acting is not like sports. You can't call people out like that. We don't do that. Nah,
Yeah, call me out.
It'd be great. It'd be great if we could all be like that, but not. There's so many egos, and people get bruised, and they start getting hostile.
I don't have that. Yeah, no, I don't have that. Hey, Marshawn, bro, what the fuck is you giving me right now? We need less of what the fuck you giving us and more of what we want. Oh, okay, my bad. Shit, I thought been doing that. You ain't tell me I was doing nothing wrong, so I just thought we was good.
Yeah, I don't get any of this feedback in politics.
Yeah, no one yells.
None of this.
No
stuff.
one yells at Gavin, John.
Well, I'm a tell your ass, Gavin, what the fuck you doing?
It's universal love. That's why I'm in politics. Just universal love.
Oh yeah, right. Unconditional love from all your
Unconditional love.
constituents.
I'm curious, you know, so many of us in life, I mean, I'm thinking the sports construct, you know, we have coaches, we have mentors, people. I mean, do you still have people in your life that, independent of a director or a project that you're involved with, and you have situational partners, do you still have a coach? Do you still have someone? I mean, is there an old acting coach that takes a look at your tapes and calls and says, man, I think you're slipping here a little bit, or, hey, brother, that was next level?
Dude, it's absolutely. It's like I think of myself like as a tennis player, and I got to be playing, and I got to have a coach, and he's got to keep me together and tight, and I got to keep my game up. So yeah, I have my old acting teacher, David Newer. I love him, and he keeps me tight and clean, you know. And I'm always reading scripts out loud. I'm doing Zooms with other actors. I'm keeping my skills sharp as fuck, because you can't let your skills drop. You got to keep. It's like any sport. You got to keep doing it, and this whole thing is a sport.
John, who's your crew? Who's your crew in the business? Like who do you who's like your main? If you got to call 2 or 3 buddies, who are the guys you're calling for advice, counsel, kick it with, have a beer with, whatever?
I love Mark Ruffalo, man. He's the most honest, caring human being.
You talking about the Hulk?
Yeah, the Hulk. That's
I fuck with the Hulk, bro.
Yeah, he's fucking amazing. And Ethan Hawke's also like an incredible guy. You can talk about anything. He's a great artist.
Yeah.
David Harbour is phenomenal, and I love hanging with him. Makes me laugh as fuck. You know, there's some great folks out there, man. They're super talented, really humble. I like the humble motherfuckers who are talented. I don't like egos. I don't like vanity and BS like that. It's not. I don't have room for that shit.
No, well, John, I mean, you know, as we close, it's a perfect. I mean, John, Doug was saying something earlier, which I picked up about you and Marshawn. It's all about authenticity. It's all about character, and I appreciate your authenticity. I appreciate who you've become in terms of being an activist and a leader, not just one of our great and most outstanding entertainers, but someone that's providing meaning and purpose and mission at a time when we need it more than we've ever needed it in our life. So mad respect for you, man.
No, thank you, my brother.
Grateful for everything you're doing.
Batman, let me tell you something, man. You can say real ass motherfucker.
Real ass motherfucker. These are some real ass motherfucking shoes, Marshawn.
No, not the shoes, not the pandas. You can say that every now. You could throw that one in there every now and then. You could just, you know what I mean, to switch up the game a little bit.
I will say, John is a real ass motherfucker.
Thank you. Big hugs, man. Big hugs all around.
Thank you, John.
Peace
Thank
out.
you, brother.
Much love.
Appreciate it, Chief.